Hi guys, welcome back to another fun conversation with your favorite tech girl, aka me. And in this channel, we talk about all things tech, product, and general career adulting. Now, without further ado, let's get introduced. Hi, my name is Aarushi. I have about 7 years of experience building tech products. In these 7 years, I've worked as a developer, as a marketeer, as a product manager, and now as a content creator as well. I've also switched multiple geographies, and in this channel, I try to share all that I have learned, try to be the mentor that I didn't have. So in this video is kind of special for me because I am currently also working as a senior product manager at Amazon, and this video is about Amazon's leadership principles and what I learned about them through my experience. Now, I will not be able to cover all the leadership principles in this one, so we'll have a few other videos about it, but this is first of many. So in this video, we'll cover 3 principles. The first one is, I think, my favorite: have a backbone, disagree, and commit. Now, why is this one so important? See, for any leader, and Amazon puts them as leadership principles. Well, Amazon tries to put everyone who's worked at Amazon through a leadership journey, through a journey where you build yourself as a leader. Now, a leader is who? Let's say when I think of a leader, I think of my Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, or you can think of Justin Trudeau, or you could think of any president of any country, or a leader doesn't necessarily have to be a president, but could be head of a company, right? So it could be Satya Nadella for that matter. Now let's say we are all Satya Nadellas. Let's imagine that you're a leader. Now, as a leader, you might come across situations where you might not agree with something, where something feels completely against your gut, or completely against the data as you know it, or completely against the customer feedback as you know it. Well, at that point, it's your responsibility to disagree. But well, there's another part to it, and commit. What does that mean? Well, in case the group doesn't agree with you, in case the group wants to try something which you feel could fail, but well, once you have committed to something, once you have called it out that I think it will not succeed because A, B, and C, well, you should still commit to the group's end outcome. You shouldn't be someone who sits on the side and keeps not being a part of the group, not being part of the activity, doesn't support the group in achieving the outcome in which they believe in. So it's about being yourself, being that individual in that group, and calling out your own beliefs when you don't believe in something. But once as a group we've all agreed to something, well, then you be a part of it. That's what disagree and commit is all about. And it's such a beautiful leadership principle because it talks about individuality, having your own beliefs, but it also talks about giving importance to that group, to that team, and making sure that the team goes forward. Now, why is this important? Let's say you are the Prime Minister of the country. My country is India. Let's say I'm Mr. Narendra Modi. Well, in this case, maybe one of my ministers comes and tells me that, hey, this year we have to launch this A, B, and C scheme. I could say that, this scheme doesn't make sense. Let's take a very common example right now. The Reserve Bank of India is actually going against a very big startup called Paytm in India. Now, maybe they come ahead and ask Mr. Narendra Modi, tell him that, we think Paytm should be shut down because of A, B, and C reason. Now, he may say that Paytm is actually the pioneer of fintech in India and you shouldn't close it down, and he may have his multiple reasons. He could call it out and say, RBI, I do not agree to what you're saying. But at the end, if RBI and Narendra Modi are together, he has to stand by it, right? So you call by your reasons, you discuss it together, but at the end, whatever the group agrees to, you both have to stand by it. You can't have a situation where Mr. Modi is saying something else and RBI is saying something else. Well, that will be chaos. That's what leadership is all about. Let's keep a political example aside. Let's think about a business example, a real world business example, right? Twitter was bought by Elon Musk. When it was bought, well, all of its employees complained about him. There was a lot of news online that people hate him. There was a lot of hate that Elon Musk got at that point. Well, what did you think of the company at that point? Did you think Elon Musk and Twitter or X were aligned? Did you feel that he was more of an outsider for the company and not an insider, not a true owner? I remember thinking something like that. Why did I feel that? Because there was a disjoint POV that was coming through the entire organization, and it was not just a few employees, but the overall organization that was Twitter and now X. Well, it had a different POV, it had a different vibe than what Elon Musk was giving, and that lack of commitment between the two, only disagreement between the two, well, that's not going to work. So you should disagree as a leader, you should bring about your points, but once that close group decides on something, well, then you commit. That's disagree and commit. Now, I think with these examples, you must have understood about this principle, and now it's about you taking your stories. Now, I understand that, if you're, let's say, applying to L4, L5 position, you yourself might not have had enough experiences in your life where you can, really say that you disagreed to something, or you disagreed and then you committed also to something. But well, it's not always in your workspace. There could be situations in your college life, in extracurricular activities that you might have done, even internships that you would have done, where even the smallest thing could make an impact, and people understand that the scale of impact could be smaller for people at smaller levels, and then you keep growing at it. You don't need to be unrealistic about something. Within the scope of the work that you've done, make it seem important enough. And this is about your stories, the way you tell your stories, about how you make the other person understand what the exact situation was, where were you coming there, what was your role as an actor, and how did you make that impact. So write your story, but with understanding the principle and what exactly it's asking you to do. So well, that's the first one, disagree and commit. Now coming to my second most favorite one, and I think this is something Amazon is known for. After all, it's the most user-centric company in the world. It's being user-driven or user-centric. Well, this I don't think I need to explain it a lot, but let me still try so that you understand exactly what is expected here. Now, whenever someone goes an extra mile to understand a customer need or to deliver to a customer need, well, that's what we want. And you'd say understanding a customer need, isn't that obvious? All of us understand that, or that's a well-known fact. Well, not really, not for everyone. Let's say I'm an HR manager in a company and my job is to come up with a new compensation structure. Now, my users, who are they? My users are the employees for whom I'm figuring out the new compensation structure, right? If I go the extra mile to understand what is it that they need from their compensation structure, maybe they want more ESOPs, they're okay with it. Maybe they want a different health insurance plan. Maybe they don't want anything but a base pay to go up. Talking to the employees, spending that extra time and just trying to understand what is it that the employees want, what is the industry giving them, benchmarking with a few other companies that I think are similar to mine. Those could be activities that I've done to make sure that I understand my users. And mind you, that users do not always have to be external, they could be internal as well. And this is something that Amazon very beautifully, in the last 3-4 weeks since I've been there, I've done a lot of trainings, and they tell this to us, that your internal users, like for an HR manager or for someone in accounting, they could be internal users as well. You have to be mindful of their needs, and it could be either through understanding them really well or through delivering something so well for their needs that you actually nailed it. Now obviously you can't deliver something to their needs unless you understand it, but it's okay if those needs are obvious or if they've already been defined by someone else. Delivering a solution, implementing something which meets their need is also good enough. So that's where you should think about your stories. Now again, I gave you the HR manager example because some of you might not have real world product experience, right? And then how do you talk about the users? Well, if you were in a college committee, your users could have been the sponsors that you tried to get for the college event, or they could be your professors who you tried to engage for a specific event, or they could be students. They could even be the cleaning staff for whatever work you wanted them to do. So it could be anyone that you engaged with who you wanted to influence through that work, and those were your users, right? Now coming to the third principle and last for this video, we'll do other videos for other principle, is again one of the best principles. I think one of the things which makes Amazon stand out is think deep. Now, why is this important? Now, again, you have to understand these leadership principles come in a larger paradigm of Amazon, a company which is as big, as scale as Amazon. It needs people to think deep. Maybe if you're working in a startup or if you're applying to a startup, see again, I think deep is important anywhere, and I'll explain what it means in a minute. But I think it's even more important for scaled companies because just the impact that they have is so huge. Now, what does think deep mean? Think deep mean that you go extra, like you look at the data, you make sure that you critique every idea that has been put out there from all perspectives, and then you come out with it. Now, why is this important? Let's take another real world example. Let's say you're working with the government. You are working in the Prime Minister's office and your job is to come up with the next tax structure or the next budget for that year. Now, if you were doing that, I don't think you'll be surprised to think that people who are working on that would be working on it for months, if not years. Like, of course, every year you have the budget. So the team that's going to release the next year's budget would start working on it for many months in advance. Why do they need that long? They could just do it in a couple of days, right? It's just the same kind of principle that they come back with each year, right? Well, writing that budget takes that kind of time because whatever you decide there will have long-lasting impact. It will impact millions of people, and in case of India, billions of people. So, well, you have to be very mindful. You have to think about all the cases. You have to make sure that there's no negative impact of what you're coming with. You have to make sure that it matches your party's intent, whatever your political party is trying to achieve. It's meeting the outcome for the country, whatever it needs to achieve. Maybe there are a few alliances that you have with other countries, and you make sure that that also gets met. So there's a lot going on over there that you, if you're writing the budget, have to be careful about, right? Well, a company like Amazon also impacts millions of people, if not billions, and whatever you decide will impact them, maybe as a customer or as an advertiser or as a seller, like anything. And in that scale, you have to think deep. You have to make sure that whatever you're building is actually the right thing, and it's not going to impact negatively anyhow. Now, obviously, no budget is 100% amazing. There are follies, and again, people working at Amazon are humans after all. They could make mistakes as well. But if you don't think deep enough, if you don't prioritize that, well, you'll make more mistakes and bigger ones as well. And I've seen that, like anything that goes out here goes to multiple levels of think deep and so on, but that's why it's important. So if you're going for a company that big, you have to make sure that you show your ability to critique your own ideas. You don't jump to conclusions in the first go. You are able to triangulate your opinion through data, through user feedback and so on. Now, if you're someone who doesn't have the same kind of experience, how do you do that? Well, again, your users don't necessarily have to be customers, paying customers. They could be anyone. Data, you may not have it, but if you have tried to validate the same thing by talking to 3 people, well, that's another validation. That's again critique. If you've tried to validate your own hypothesis by doing some industry benchmarking, well, that's thinking deep as well. Thinking deep is just making sure you come up with an idea and you implement it. That's not who you are. You come up with an idea, you think about it, you discuss it with X number of people, you take some other feedback points, and once you are sure about it, that's when you implement it. That's what it's trying to understand, and that's what your story should tell. Well, I think with this video, you understand these 3 principles at least. In the next one, I'll come up with my explanation of all of these, and I hope it helps you write the best stories for your Amazon interview. I'll see you in the next one. Ta-da!